All right, well, thank you for being in attendance.
It starts with the marketing and the way that you're positioning your brand and the way that you are showcasing your work. We're not selling decks. We're selling a dream. We're selling outdoor living. And so you need to take a more sophisticated approach to it. I think really take a step how your stuff looks compared to someone else. If you are a homeowner, would you want to drop $250,000 on a project by going to their website? It should build that trust there. But anyway, what's the question again?
Question, do builders need to market differently when going after high-end clients?
Yeah.
If so, what does that
Yeah,
look
let me
like?
give you some tactical things here. So when it comes to advertising, we set up our campaigns to reduce smaller clients that are looking for price or affordable. We'll put those as negative keywords within the campaigns. So yes, there's a lot of different ways that you have to approach things differently. I think that somebody that's going to invest a lot into a project has a much higher level of expectation, and they want to understand your process and everything that is unique about how you do things, because you really have to help meet their dream, right? And they need to know. Well, actually, this is kind of a crazy segue because Nick Stevens was just up here talking about selling, and he's got some good tips. So I don't know if that was recorded, but go back to it. But I think the approach that you take has to be much more hand-holding.
Okay, very good. All right. So the next questions for the full panel. And it's similar to the question we just discussed, and that is with regards to luxury jobs, do most of those come from marketing, have you found, or do they come from referrals?
I would say, well, I think ultimately it all comes from the marketing, because even if there was a referral, if for example, if you got referred to somebody that you just did a great project for, the first thing they're going to do is look you up. They're going to check out your social media, check out your website, and if you're not showcased to those are the type of projects that you do, they're not going to have the trust. I shouldn't say not going to have the trust, but it lowers the trust big time if you can't show people that this is what we consistently do.
Yeah, I would say for me, the answer to that's both. I've done some pretty creative stuff, and then word of mouth has gotten me some other cool creative stuff. But it's a very small market for somebody that wants to do like an extremely custom deck with for instance, the guitar deck. Like you're not getting many people in your inbox saying, "Hey, can you build me a guitar deck?" But I've had a lot of opportunities to do something different. But I definitely invested more in marketing and showing that my website and having the marketing company that I use really push that's my style, and that's finding clients that didn't know I existed that want that kind of thing. They don't want just an average deck builder. They want somebody like me. So it was kind of hand in hand for me. It was the referrals got me the cool projects to market, but then marketing pushed me to a level where these are like my everyday jobs now. So that would be my answer for both.
Yeah, I think we kind of fall in that category, a little bit of both. The consistency in the marketing, I think, is what pushes us over the top. Having every portion of our marketing all look the same, the same look, the same feel. We're only going to sell the things that we show. I'm sure a lot of you will, you post a picture of a deck and you seem to sell the next 5 decks are that color, that style, that look, that feel. The higher end custom builds are the same way. We show that we can do that. We can create those spaces, and we're showing that through our marketing. Sure, we get a handful of referrals as well, but your referral base, as great as those clients might be, the marketing is, pitching us out there to the masses. So I think the marketing is really what drives the higher end clients.
All right, thank you very much. Here's another question. When you price a high-end project, do you present it as one package, or do you break it up into various options?
So I think that depends on the customer. If you have a customer that is looking for the entire project to be done by one person and everything to be done without communication with other trades, things like that, then I would say present it as a whole. But if you have the customer that may not want to do the entire project because they have a really good relationship with a certain trade or things like that, then I would at least break it out for them in ways where you can still get the bulk of the work from
Yeah, for me, that's a good question, because it's kind of a wild question, because when I first started out, I would start to sell like basic deck. And then after you get that initial sale, like it's just a basic one of a kind deck that any contractor could do. Then after I got it, it's kind of like the client is not necessarily stuck with you, but they're contracted, right? So they're not going anywhere else. They're not shopping. You've already got the job. So then I would throw an inlay in there. Hey, check out this inlay. I had time today. I thought I'd draw this inlay out. What do you guys think? And then I'd upgrade the price. Then I'd say, it looked really good if we threw some lights on there. So next thing you know, you have let's just use $20,000 deck, and I turned it into a $30,000 deck just by showing them these little things. And that's kind of how I started out. And then after where my outreach was farther, and I was meeting clients that wanted my services of something of quality and uniqueness, I have found that just giving that client the main price, that's like, it's kind of like you just get it out of the way. Most of my clients, the price is second, which was really cool to have. It's more focused on the design and how it's going to look and the products that I'm using. And then we talk the numbers, and most of the time I'm nervous about giving a big number to somebody. And then it's just human nature to look at that person and be like, well, you didn't fall down when I gave you the number, you know. And most of my clients are like, no, we were anticipating that. And I think as I've evolved, I've realized that when people are looking for you and you market yourself well, they know already that you're going to have a tag behind you depending on what it is you're pushing. So I kind of shifted gears there, but I feel like both ways are important depending on where you are.
Man, I didn't know we'd have to compete with a saw. Yeah, I do a little bit of both. The majority of our projects, we're gonna line item out as extensively as we can. So much so that we'll have, here's your deck. Your railing's not included in the decking. Even the decking itself might not be included. So they'll have options they can choose from different manufacturers or different options. We will line item out a staircase, and clients can then pick or choose based on what is important to them. We found that a lot of clients think, a deck just has to have stairs, for instance. Then you show them a price on what staircase they fell in love with, and they suddenly don't think that stairs are all that important. So they can play around with their budget and what's important to them. But there's also times where, a project we sold recently, a client was dead set. They really wanted glass railing. And glass railing is going to be among the higher priced rail systems. Glass railing is the highest price because it's an incredible look and it's worth it. So for that client, I gave them the option. Do you want to see what this railing would be, like what the add-on would be? Or would you rather we just bury that cost to where this is the price for your deck with the glass railing and everything you want? And it was easier for that client to say, you know what, I don't even want to look at the price. That is the look that I want. Just put it all together. And we sold that project. And it's really tailoring that proposal to the client the way they need to see it.
I want to follow up on that a little. With the higher end jobs, a lot of times they can be phased out too. So say you have a deck that's going to have a covered porch with a screen room, and then it walks down to an area that has a hot tub. Well, maybe they're not able to afford the screen room this year. So if they could see the fact that that's a possibility, it's in the design, it's very feasible, we can build the deck to accept the screen room on it in the future. They see what it costs, and maybe they don't have the $45,000 for that room right now. So they know it can be done, but they could phase it out to next year to the year after.
All right, well, the answers to those questions, the earlier question dovetails into the next one really well, and that is, what are the 2 or 3 features that turn in a nice project into a luxury building?
I think for us, it's been louvered roofs. Louvered roofs have really enhanced the project, given it the ability to be full sun and almost full sun, keep it dry. You can add heaters and springs, really, things like that. So louvered roofs is definitely a big one. Glass rail, specifically like frameless glass rail, is a really cool look. That can take you can actually just take an average deck, throw a frameless glass rail in there, completely changes the whole scene, the setting, things like that. And then I'd say privacy screens. That's been a big enhancer. You can take an average deck and add one side of a privacy screen, and it completely changes the entire project. And that will allow you to start upselling some of the other items once you have that luxury setting.
Well, before Andy steals my answer, since Mike got all the good ones, lighting's been a huge impact. I think lighting, you drive through a neighborhood and it's, dark house, and then you see a light, a house that's all lit up. That house is it draws your attention. It's the same thing on an outdoor living space. Outdoor heaters, anything that's going to keep a client out on that space or out on that deck longer, throughout the season, throughout the day. The louvered pergolas, they're just, I didn't even consider the louvered pergola, but you're spot on. I mean, that is such a foundational piece to a space, because now you can add those heaters, you can add the lighting, you can add the fans or whatever somebody needs. And then there's nothing else. So I just
No, I thought of one. I thought of a couple of them. All right, so now that they've taken pretty much everything from the conversation, really what I see a trend coming up, and it's still, I don't know if I'll catch you this or not, but it's still kind of a hard sell, and I'm still working on it. A couple of these guys have mastered the ability of it, but it's alternative framing, right? So Owens Corning, Fortress, all these products are coming out where you have this beautiful deck. It's the top of the line composite deck, but then you put it on this crappy wood frame. And I don't know what manufacturer I heard the pitch from, but it was a great one where it was, why put Flamin' Young on a paper plate, right? I tell that to my customers all the time. Cost wise, it's tricky. And I don't know why I struggle with the cost of it trying to sell it to somebody. And I think it's the confidence. I think anything you do, if you go in it with confidence, you know, a customer is going to believe you. They're going to believe they're not being sold a bill of goods. And if I'm being honest, I think I struggle with that upgrade because I still am more keen to using wood because that's all I've ever used. And it's just hard to justify that price right now in my mind. But I do see that as being a huge trend in the future and something that you should stay up on. And then another thing is the design process. I mean, what's cool is like after this, I'm doing one session, I guess, on AI. And you know, you can use AI as a really cool tool to show customers different shapes, different uniquenesses of a deck. And I think that nobody wants, like my slogan is, it's not just the deck. And what that means is I'm not a contractor that's building these just a square, just like the neighbor has, right? This builder grade deck that I'm in and out, probably a better business model, but I don't do that. I want my deck to stand out in that neighborhood where people are wanting a deck. They're going to be like, we want Smith's deck over there. That was sweet, right? And then now it goes back to those other questions that he asked, which is the referral, and then helps me get better marketing. So for me, I think something that's really trendy is a better deck design, something that's unique, makes the customer feel like they have their own creative space back there, like their money had value, not just this boring thing that got them from the back door to the grass. Yeah, and inlays. Yeah, I mean, I do a ton of inlays. I think those are cool. I call them deck tattoos because I'm covered in tattoos, and I think it's catchy. But those have been really successful because, you know, depending on certain designs, they're not really that hard to do. I mean, it's add blocking and come up with a cool design. And I mean, if you're a good carpenter, I mean, you can cut a simple inlay in a couple hours probably, and the value that you get from the marketing from it and the customers overall, like, wow, I can't believe we have this one of a kind deck. It's our deck. It's nothing like anything else they've seen. I mean, that the marketing on that alone is worth it. You know, I've done inlays just because I thought they were a cool customer and they'd let me have a little bit of freedom. And I probably almost gave that project away. But what I lost in the revenue of paying the guys to do it, I probably gained back 10 times that and the ability to market that project. So it's just about how you look at the project and where you find value. So.
Thank you. All right, April, I'm going to come back to you in a minute, but we have an opportunity with the next question. Kind of led into it, Andy. So luxury jobs are about profitability, and are they more so than your normal bread and butter work? Because they're higher end, right, luxury jobs. But when it comes to the profitability, are they, in regards to bidding them, you know, how does that work out for you guys?
All right, I'm going to give a different answer than both of these guys because these two up here are I envy their company. They're in a great company. They are looking at profit. They have charts. They do all this stuff. I'm willy-nilly. All right. There's sometimes where like I just said in that last conversation, where I've had to give something away, and I justify it as not like the money that I lost on that, but what I got back in other ways. So there's times where I've taken big projects and I've learned an experience, and I've had to learn the hard way. And I think I'm adjusting things where I am starting to make some money on it, but I chase the dream, not the money in my book. So not that they don't chase that, but I don't have the numbers. To be honest, sometimes I don't even know if I'm making something or not. So yeah. So I'm not a good example on that, other than if you like my passion. So
We have to be really careful on, on the higher end builds, or just how intricate a design can be or a build can be. It's easy to say, oh my gosh, this is such a big project, so I'm going to discount that. It's also easy to lose huge on a project like that. So when we're looking at projects, we're not bidding something. If it's a 16 by 16 deck, pretty basic build, it's going to be an all steel frame build for us, all composite decking, all metal railing. We're going to make similar profit margins on that build as we would on a $750,000 project. Because quite honestly, why would you go out and build something that's going to take you, a 6-month build, let's say? Why would you build that any cheaper for what your profit margins could be over those 6 months, building what all of us know is a much simpler build with a 16 by 16 that you really don't have to do much thinking. It is cooler, but it's not a guitar deck. So, we try to stick close to those margins. Now, it doesn't mean that volume of build doesn't justify something for the client, but rather than a cash discount, I'm kind of notorious for being mid-project and saying, like Andy was saying, like, this would look so much cooler if it had lighting. The client decided it didn't fit the budget. Lights might show up on that project, because what we will get in return is better pictures on social media, clients that are excited because they feel like they got something for free, or as a gift, or what have you. But no, the profit has to be there. I mean, if it's not, none of us are in business in 5 years.
I think my answer would be the higher end of the project, the lower profit I end up making. Not on purpose, but there's always new and innovative things that you're trying to introduce, and you can always do your best to get all the pricing and put everything in the right spot. But when they're new and innovative and more exciting, it's easier to forget things. And it's also easier to justify the cooler the project, the more likely I'm going to get a return on the marketing. Which it is a number that you have to look at. If you're going to get, if your next year of projects are going to be $5,000 higher on average because you built this really cool project, well, you have to consider that return on investment is worth it. One thing with the luxury situations or luxury projects that are going out there is usually the fact that you haven't done it before. It's not in your catalog, so you don't have 75 examples of how long that took to build to price it appropriately. So you spend a little bit more time guessing how long something new would take or something exciting is going to take. We don't always guess with our hearts. We want the project, so we guess low. We want the
All right, thank you all for that. I'm going to go back to April. April worked with some of the most successful deck builders in the country. She works with these gentlemen. So my question to you, April, is when it comes to attracting high-end homeowners who want that entire outdoor living experience, what are the biggest mistakes builders make with their marketing? And what could they do instead to consistently win those projects?
Well, ironically, I just had a talk today about building a system. A couple of people were there today. And so I think the biggest mistake that people make, well, apart from throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, is maybe just putting attention into one area, like just social media, like just posting on social media, or just doing Facebook ads. And there's so much more to it. I mean, they used to say that, you had to be in front of somebody 7 times before, they would remember you. And now it's like astronomical. So you really have to have a strategy of staying in front of people. And that's where, we use a nerdy term called omnipresence and making sure that you're everywhere. So I do want to go back to the social media thing really quick, because Social media is really, really good for people that are for nurturing, right? If somebody goes to your site, they learn about you, they're gonna do their research, they're gonna follow you, they want to build that trust and see if you're the right one for them. And so they will look at your social media. And that's kind of where that comes into play. But biggest mistake is just focusing on one thing instead of everywhere where people are showing up so that you're there during their entire research and consideration phase.
Good deal. Thank you very much. All right, we've got a couple more questions and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. So think of any questions you guys want to ask. For the builders, what design or lifestyle trends do you see driving the next wave of projects?
I think wellness is one of the big drivers. People are looking to be more healthy and spend more time doing activities that, like saunas, for instance, has been a big draw for outdoor living spaces to get somewhere after you do your cold plunge. Go, get into your sauna and just help your body recover, things like that. That's one.
What design or lifestyle trends do you see, driving the next wave of projects? Is there anything on the horizon or that you see that isn't common in the market at this place that's going to kind of drive high-end projects going forward?
I would definitely say adding a roof over a deck lately has been something that I've always thought this from day one when I got into this. I think the best deck that you can build somebody has a roof over it. I mean, it's so usable. I mean, it's you can sit out there anytime and you're not getting blasted by the sun. It creates this environment that feels like you have your own like outdoor winery. Like I just finished this deck, and it literally looks like a winery for these people. And their comment to me was, "We have no reason to ever leave our house right now, other than to go get wine to come over here and drink it." And that's really the vibe they got. That's the vibe they wanted, and just adding that roof, that was a sweet deck. Just putting that roof, and it was big timbered roofs too. It's not like, for me at least, it's using real thick wood and almost like barn beams and stuff, right? And that was just the style that they wanted, and it's really the style I try to push because I like all those the real thick timbers and things like that, and it just creates that vibe that people can just go out there and it's like their own personal oasis away from the world. So that's a big trend.
Yeah, I think anything that keeps people out longer, a roof is going to do just that. The outdoor kitchens have been really big for us. In a space, I mean, it's the feeling people get in the space. We can all build a great deck and, they look good on social media or whatever, but, how the people feel when they're out there is what we focus on. So, we're giving them the elements of, heat or cool when needed. Give them shade when needed. Give them the opportunity to, hang out and watch TV on the deck if that's what they're into. I talked to a client last year that, it was a phase build. We did the deck phase 1, the roof was phase 2. And they talked about how they couldn't find their kids after school. They're like, looking around the house for the kids. The kids were out on the deck doing homework. And they're hanging out in the deck or on the deck that they never hung out on the deck for the entire year that we, after the first phase of the build. Once that roof went in, now the kids can hang out there after school. It was hot, had fans on, what have you. That client figured they went from using their deck 20% of the time to about 80 to 90% of the time. They are out there and all kinds of things, watching hockey games, football games, baseball games, hanging out, family meals, whatever. So, anything we can do to keep people in that space, keep them comfortable. It's like they just want to be there. One additional element we've been at is taking, smaller access doors, like you get a 36-inch door, maybe you have a 6-foot slider. We're doing a lot of like 15 and 18-foot wide sliders, really connecting the the outdoor living space to that indoor living space. And it's starting to feel a little bit more seamless, I guess, a little bit less seen. Anyway.
I had one more. And I've done a couple of these, and they're really cool, especially about pool, right? I did a deck for this customer. He's got a big pool out there, and his steps are coming down. So 8-foot high deck, steps are coming down. And what we did was we framed in and we made a bathroom underneath these steps. And it was like a changing house slash bathroom thing. So when you're in that pool and you get out, you just go in there, and we use like a hardy siding, like a shake siding down the sides, painted the same color as the deck. Has an access door in there. We put plumbing in it. It was really a cool feature. And I've done that twice, maybe 3 times, but I actually see that being something that should probably be pushed more. I mean, think about the usability of that now. You're in this backyard, you have a pool, you have this beautiful deck. Now you got to go all the way back into the house to use the restroom or pick a tree, right? So, so I think that's something that is like a really cool thought that you give a customer. And I guarantee you that customer you're talking to is going to be like, oh, nobody's ever said that before. I like that. And that's kind of how you can set the pace in your presentation, is by having all these things in your arsenal to just sound better and more qualified than the other guys. So,
All right, good deal. Appreciate that. All right. Regarding these differing items that go into the high-end decks, what are the hidden costs or risks with it? You guys learned, what have you learned from some of these projects, things that might have been you weren't sure of when you first started, but then you learned as you went, the risks to other builders that are looking to go that direction?
For me, it would have been confidence, but not necessarily confidence in myself, but in I've got crews that go out and build, and I think it's my carpenter's confidence, right? They tackle a job, and there's a lot of detail on it, and sometimes it gets overwhelming, and it's hard for them to process that. So I've tried to figure out ways to help them gain that confidence that they know they can tackle that project. Because if they're doing an inlay and they're using a $120 deck board and it's a bad cut, they're scared. They're not giving me their all because they're just being very conservative about it. So I've learned taking on these big jobs and the creative ones that, really standing behind my team and trusting the way that they do things, and they trust me as well. It's really helped. It's really helped our process of learning as we do this. So.
I think the big thing to help express to a client is timelines are totally different on a big project. If start to finish a job is a 16-week, 20-week project, every trade that is involved in that project is going to add time. We might jump ahead of schedule and electricians can't get on board for 2 weeks. We might have a hailstorm and siding crews are just stretched thin, or material sudden materials no longer available. Or there's 100 different things that can really jam up a timeline. And clients need to be comfortable with it. They have to be on board with this is not a project that we're promising a deadline of 4th of July weekend. You got a party. Well, maybe we should start that project on the 8th of July, and we'll shoot for next year's 4th of July party. But don't put a hard stop on a project that you have no control of the elements, you have no control of the other crews, or just all of the things that can happen, or even the permitting process being delayed. The other thing that when you're designing a project and you're working in phases, sometimes we will throw things into different categories, and say somebody wants to have screens on the project. If you use like a Westbury screen rail and that's in your screen enclosure price, but then the client decides, we're not going to do that screen. Well, now you don't have railing figured in on your budget for your deck. So it's better to have all of the things that it takes to build this phase in that phase, even though some of those might be redundancies. Much easier to tell a client, hey, we shaved $2,500 off of your price because something changed, versus going to a client telling you need more money. Or what most of us do is just you just eat that expense because you didn't give that. Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm not going to Mrs. Johnson and telling her I need another check. So you just eat it and move on. So figuring out each phase, what redundancies do there need to be, or what things can be, kind of piecemeal into each one, or just pull it completely separate. And here's your deck, here's your screen enclosure. You're going to need rail with either one of these decisions.
I don't remember the question, but before I get the question again, I just wanted to follow up on that. That it is real life that happened. It just happened to me. We had a project that had a covered porch, and it needed rain, but we did screen rail. They decided we don't necessarily want to do the screen system, so we take that part off. I took it off, and of course, we got to add the rail back in. So it definitely does really happen. What was that question again? Sorry.
All right, no problem. Yeah, you did, and that was hidden cost or risks. Hidden cost or risk. Anything you spend? So. All right.
Well, so another thing that happened to me. So okay, there's a new roofing product out, right? And you look at the cost of the roofing piece, and you think, how much longer is this new roofing piece going to take on the covered porch? And you do all your calculations. The one part I missed was the edge details that goes on the edge of the roofing, and it costs three times as much to buy the trim that goes on the edge of the roof as the actual entire roof cost. So sometimes there's just little details that are easily missed when you get into the higher end projects.
Thank you. All right. One more question for the panel, and I have another question for April, and then we'll throw it out to you folks. For the panel, what one piece of advice would you give a builder who's actually going to move into the luxury space?
I would say if you're going to move into wanting to do more luxury projects, only showcase them, only promote them. Don't go through your social media and show a bunch of 12 by 12 decks, because nobody's going to trust you to build their $200,000 project if everything that you showcase is $20,000.
Yeah, you got to be all in. When we switched over to the kind of focusing on the luxury build, my wife and I sat down. We run this company together. We sat down and thought, what focus do we want to have? You can be profitable at any level. Build a bunch of 12 by 12 decks. You can build a bunch of apartment complex decks. You can build luxury high-end decks, and you can be profitable at each of those. I did not feel that I could be successful with my focus not being directed at one thing. I know Andy, I don't know how Andy is able to do both, and it really blows my mind. But for me, it's you just got to be focused for what we wanted to do. We sat down, we made a decision that we wanted to focus on high-end builds. And it was a change of everything. It was a change of culture. It was, training your staff, training your crew that, the level of attention to detail that you thought was like the best it could be, we weren't even close, because now we're in a different classification. Our material changed. We switched to, overnight, we made a switch to 100% alternative framing. And it was terrifying, because now you're telling every client that calls, oh no, we don't do wood frame decks. We don't do, it's not that we don't want to. It's just that for us, for our market, we know that the lifespan of a wood frame deck is about 8 years in the St. Louis market. We cannot justify doing a $200,000 project or a $25,000 project on something that is so temporary. I know different markets, different wood, and that's a whole other discussion. But in our market, 8 years is about it. So we made that switch to steel, and with that switch, we also transitioned into really looking at the higher end build.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to take away from what these guys just said was being all in. Be all in on it. have a process, have a vision, and figure out what luxury means to you in a sense, right? Like, I mean, I build luxury decks, but mine are also, to me, a luxury deck is also a creative deck, right? And unique. I've set myself apart from my competition to where, you know, I've branded myself. So if somebody, when they want a deck and they want something unique, they know who to call because they know that I can deliver that. And then also, you know, being a member of NADRA has been a really good thing because, you know, you go there and you get inspired, right? I think if you're going to make that switch, being inspired by other builders and even us three sitting up here and other guys, we're in this whole network. I call it my deck family, right? We're all in chat groups and stuff, and we all inspire each other, and it makes us all want to be better than we were the day before. And I think that networking is super important in this aspect because, you know, I use David Suttlemeyer. I don't know if anybody knows who David is, but David is a world-round. I mean, he's an awesome deck designer. It's probably one of the most national awards I've imagined, right? And I use David when I'm doing a high-end project. He actually designs the deck for me, offers my clients a very unique design that I know is going to be one of a kind. It's an award-winning approach, and that's really helped me seal the deal. So knowing that I can use David, who I've met through these things and networking on my own, has just made me stand out as somebody that offers a creative or luxury deck that they can buy from us.
I kind of want to follow up with the all-in and back up that a little bit. So we do plenty of 12 by 12 decks. We're not going to promote it. We're not going to advertise to those people who want it. But when somebody that needs a 12 by 12 deck sees all of the projects that are high end and luxury, and they want that person to build their deck, and they call, I'm not going to say no to them as long as if their project can be done in the way that we need to build it. It doesn't matter the size or the cost, as long as they're wanting our services the way that we can offer.
Thank you very much. April, you've touched on this, but I'd like to ask you, what does a cohesive marketing strategy actually look like for this sector of buildings? And again, she works with these gentlemen. She works with high-end builders, so she has some understanding in this area.
I would say the first is positioning. I did touch on that before, but to explain what that is in reality, a lot of people will really hone in on quality craftsmanship or customer service or whatever, and that's to be expected. And homeowners they expect a lot more now. So you really need to make sure that you understand how you do things differently. I'd say the second is having really good visuals, like I mentioned before, but having a brand story and explaining what your story is and how you do things differently, introducing your team, getting video testimonials of your homeowners, incorporating amazing footage of your most beautiful projects is a really great way to hit those, pull those heartstrings and reach an emotional connection with somebody, that you're trying to build trust with, that's ready to invest in a different lifestyle. And making sure that you're following up with folks on social media and even retargeting them. So you can retarget people that have been to your website or have engaged with your social posts that haven't actually decided to move forward because it takes a bunch of touch points, and you can stay in front of them. But you got to take it one step further, like your ads really have to talk about luxury and lifestyle, not about price and about materials and things like that. Homeowners don't care about that. So it really is a creative play, I would say. You get a lot more creative with the way that you part of a cohesive strategy would be really understanding that marketing leads the way when it comes to developing the experience. So people are going to build a relationship with you before they ever even meet you. If you really think of it that way, it's almost like marketing's your online dating profile. So every touch point is really important. I mean, have you actually, I don't remember who I was talking to. Was it you, Tommy, said that you had a homeowner that wanted you to install a TV or something because they spent a bunch of money and felt that they earned that. Yeah. Well, the point is like really in what I'm trying to say is they have a different level of expectation. And so if you can do a really good job of holding their hand along the way with the way that you promote your brand, explain what you do, hit in on those objections that people have in your content, on your website, on your social media, do short form video. And then even when somebody fills out your form, have a really good confirmation. Like that's another touch point. Just because they filled out your form doesn't mean like, okay, well, we're in, like, we're going to wait until we talk to them. No, like that's an opportunity to say, hey, check out some inspirational work that we've done, you know, follow us on social media, or check out like these blog articles that will really help you understand what you could get working, you know, with an outdoor, luxury outdoor living contractor. Send them an email that says, hey, these are the things that you can, you know, that you should need to know before you get started. You know, like you're making it really easy for them. And I could keep going on and on. The way that you answer your phone, what your voicemail message is. These are all really small details that when you think about it, for me, if I go to a restaurant and they have warm bread with some like butter with herbs in it, bam, like great experience. And I'm like, that wasn't really that hard to do. Or if you want to keep it a little bit simpler, you could say, you know, the pepper mill, right? Like if you have a pepper mill, I'm like, heck yeah, I'm in. Didn't take that much more work, but it was just the thought of, hey, I want this to be an elevated, can't believe I just said that ChatGPT word, an elevated experience for them, and just being really intentional. I would say that would be a really good word to kind of leave everybody with, is like being intentional and really understanding what it is that you're bringing to the homeowner, what the experience is like for them, and how they would feel. I've got some tips too, but I'll stop.
All right, well, the panel's been outstanding. I thank all of you folks. I hope everyone's benefited from this opportunity, but before we go, I wanted to open it up for any questions. So if anybody has any questions, show me your hand and I'll bring the mic down.
Don't be scared. We got some great guys up here.
Do you offer any promotional materials when you complete a deck, like and get?
We do. We have we had some candles made and some a goodie bag that has our products in there, but and something that they can use and keep around their home. It's not just all about us, but more about them, and it's just a nice way to say thanks.
And I use I bought like these tumblers online, and I think I got like 20 of them or something. It was like $200. We break it down, I in that bag, and they have my logo on them. And then in the cups, I put there's a QR code for a Google review. So when I give it to them, all they got to do is they get the cup, and then it's almost like they feel obligated now to give you that Google review because I just gave them this cool cup, right? And so I recommend doing that. It's really helped kind of get Google reviews without really even asking or feeling uncomfortable about it. So.
At this time, we don't. We've kicked around the idea. And for a while, it's a weird reason that I think it's a weird reason that we don't. But I always felt like, you know, hey, thanks for spending $250,000 on your deck. Here's a $5 gift card to something. Like, I always felt like no matter what I give, it didn't seem like enough. We do, you know, like we've thought about doing different promotions, like somebody would get a grill with purchase or like different things like that. But I like the idea of like what these guys are doing, more simple things that really seem like gifts. Whether it's like candles or something that's well thought out, or tumblers. So yeah, I think something like that's a good fit.
Another question over here.
In this luxury demographic, how much of that buying decision is made now at the kitchen table versus on your webpage? How much of that buying decision now is being made through your webpage efforts versus the old kitchen table sit down with your marketing materials, educate, walk through?
For me, everything is at the kitchen table still. The website does a great job of getting the calls, getting the things that we need. And actually, a conversation I had with April, get less phone calls because not that I wanted to eliminate some of the tire kickers, and really focus on luxury. This is what it takes to be in a luxury build, and we don't. At this point, we're not putting pricing on the website, but we've kind of talked about having samples of that. So I think it's kind of twofold. I think the website gets the creative ideas going. It gets the client, like in the mindset of this is the look that I want. This is the style that I want. April's team has done a really good job of kind of putting a good portfolio of our work together. And then we go in to walk through, this is it's a beautiful space. How do we now make the space your own and really tailor that build, not only to the home, like the house speaks to me a lot more than the client does, and probably to most of us, where a beauty board or a divider board would go, is more important that it ties in well with the house and with the railing and how all those pieces kind of come together. Sometimes the clients will say they don't know what they want. They just want that look and that feel that they see through our website. So the website gets us in the door, and then that conversation at the kitchen table for us kind of finalizes things. Is that? I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
That's probably my competition doing
Yeah,
this.
right.
Yeah. My question is, as an up.
I know that my groups be out building something because we all see one way or the other, a product failure or something that doesn't right. My manufacturers, okay, this is the challenge we're having, and knowing that they are, I don't even have to think about it. I don't have to ask if it's going to be fixed. I know that it's going to be fixed. The majority of our clients don't even know what they're buying as far as a manufacturer goes, because they're buying that whole package and they think it's a beautiful black railing. They don't really care too much what the name of the rail is. They care what name is on my shirt. You know that we're going to stand behind it, and we're only going to partner with manufacturers who are going to stand behind, behind their product, ultimately behind us. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And to me, that blocking and tackling is a manufacturer. What I'm looking for is how you inspire that upsell when you're sitting at that kitchen table, other than basic literature and sample. What other tools are you looking for? What's out there? You really have some nice ideas. Just wanted to see what's cutting edge on inspiring that sale for the upsell.
Sale. So, maybe I'm going to go on a tangent here, but I really think effective marketing primes them for the sale. And then at that point, it's really just trying to establish trust and reach those emotional connections, build their solution specific to them. So anyway, I had talked about video and stuff like that. Are you interested in hear more about that, or from a manufacturer's angle?
You know what? I want to be respectful of time, especially since I think you're up next, right? So if I'm not mistaken, it's 2:54 and we're on 3. So I'd like to thank the panel for being here. Let's give them a round of applause. And then everyone that's in attendance, you guys make these shows happen. And stick around next for Andy's on at 3 o'clock. And I just got a text that my 8th grandchild was born today. There you go. Zoe Reynolds. It's found. So there you go. Thank you very much.
He's going to be talking about AI and how he uses it. So it's a big one. Stick around.
Thank you.